Center team to organize this commemorative service, as well as be your MC today. We really appreciate your presence today, and of course, because of the strict rules that we are facing, and unfortunately, Victoria is now going backward in terms of the progress we hope for. So that means today is the last day we got 20 people allowing in the public gathering. So we're very lucky in a way, and the weather seemed to hold up. So thanks to the spirit of those who have died on their way to freedom, we got this beautiful weather. Hopefully it's hold out. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we are gathering, and we pay our respect toward the elders past, present, and emerging. I also, before we start, I'm also acknowledge our distinguished guest here today, Mr. Bon Nguyen, the president of the Vietnamese community in Australia, also the president of the Vietnamese community in Australia Victoria chapter, Councillor Megan Bridget Darling, Deputy Mayor of the city of Maribyrnong, Councillor Cook Lam, the former mayor, as well as the councillor of the city of Maribyrnong. Ms. Vivian Nguyen, the chair of the VMC, the Victorian Multicultural Commission, and all the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, let's facing our flagpole, and we start our national anthems of Australia and of the Republic of Vietnam. The national anthems of Australia and the Republic of Vietnam. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strength, and let us sing advance Australia fair. Đồng rừng ơi, quốc gia đến ngày giải phóng, đồng lòng cùng đi hy sinh thiết gì thân sống. Vì tương lai quốc dân cùng sống pha quên tên, làm sao cho núi sông từ nay luôn vững bền, dù cho thầy phơi trên gương dao. Thủ nước lấy mau đào đem bao, nòi giống nước biên phái cần giải nguy, người công dân luôn vững bền tâm trí, hùng tráng quyết chiến đấu làm cho khắp nơi vang tiếng người nước Nam cho đến muôn đời. Công dân ơi, mau hiến thân dưới cờ, công dân ơi, mà làm cho cõi bờ thoát tường pha vé vàng nổi giống xứng danh nghìn năm trồng trồng lạc hồng. A minute of silence. A minute of silence to commemorate our ancestors, heroes and heroines who sacrificed their lives for our countries. A minute of silence to commemorate all the Australian and Allied forces and the Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces who have sacrificed their lives to defend the freedom of South Vietnam. A minute of silence today especially to commemorate the hundreds of thousands of innocent lives who died in the jungles or at sea in search for freedom when escaping the brutal communist regime. A minute of silence to commemorate human rights activists who have been killed or died in prison, and pray for those who are currently in prison by the Vietnamese communist regime. Phút mặc niệm để tưởng nhớ đến công đức của các bậc tiền nhân, các anh hùng nữ kiệt đã dày công dựng nước và giữ nước. Phút mặc niệm để tưởng nhớ các chiến sĩ của quân lực Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và đồng minh đã hy sinh để bảo vệ cho sự tự do của miền Nam Việt Nam. Đặc biệt ngày hôm nay, chúng ta dành một phút mặc niệm để tưởng nhớ hàng trăm ngàn đồng bào ruột thịt kém may mắn đã hy sinh trên rừng sâu, trong lòng biển cả hay tại các trại tị nạn trên con đường vượt thoát chế độ cộng sản phi nhân. Phút mặc niệm để tưởng nhớ và cầu nguyện cho các nhà tranh đấu dân chủ đã hy sinh hay đang bị giam cầm trong các trại tù của Cộng sản Việt Nam. A minute of silence commences. Phút mặc niệm bắt đầu. The flags rising ceremony and a minute of silence has ended. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we today, actually, usually we got marquees, we got a lot of Vietnamese gathering here today every year to commemorate those who have lost their lives in search of freedom. At the same time, pray and remind ourselves of our duty toward our fellow human beings around the world who have been refugees in current times. And of course, in the context of the COVID-19, we are now a lot of our people wish to be here, but we have to observe the social distancing rules, and we want to use this opportunity to appreciate those who are at home but following our services on live stream at the moment. And thank you for our live streamers for bringing the message home to our people at home. And ladies and gentlemen, they left in hundreds of thousands of people after the communist regime took over Vietnam by any means possible, by roads to the jungles, and mostly by flimsy, small, unseaworthy boats out of the so-called socialist heavens, where there was nothing but prisons, hunger, torture, threats, oppression, and constant surveillance, and of course, killings and murdering. According to the UNHCR reports, there was nearly 2 million Vietnamese escaping the Vietnamese communist regime by sea and by land into the neighboring countries. Only 2/3 of those escaped made it to refugee camps and subsequently settled permanently in a third country like Australia. More than 500,000 of them perished from hunger, thirst, rapes, murdering, disease, and killing. Today, we remember them. We remember also those who have bravely saved their lives the country that worked with the UNHCR to set up refugee camps to care for the Vietnamese refugee, like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, the Philippines, and Hong Kong. We thank the country that accepted and settled the Vietnamese refugee around the world, especially Australia, and the late Right Honourable Malcolm Fraser and his government for accepting tens of thousands of Vietnamese refugees into Australia. Today and during this special Refugee Week, we remember and pray for millions of refugees who currently are languishing in refugee camps throughout the world, who are facing dangerous conditions, especially from the COVID-19 pandemic and wars. Our survival and living in freedom today were possible due to the generosity and contribution of many people who care for the refugees. And as we are today, it is incumbent upon us to reciprocate by caring and fighting for the rights of refugees everywhere and in our homeland. Ladies and gentlemen, also today remind us why our community is trying to build the first Vietnamese museum in Australia with the support of the Maribyrnong Council, the state government and the federal government, and of the all Vietnamese overseas and in Australia. We hope that museum shall be built very soon, and then we can lift these, not only the monuments today, but these souls of those who search freedom can permanently dwell in our new museum with our ancestral home within it. So we take this opportunity to thank Maribyrnong Council for allowing us to build this monuments and also the flagpole for us to commemorate those who have died in search for freedom today. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate your presence here today. And today, because of the cold winter and also of the social distancing, our services will be very short and reduced, but without reducing the meanings that each and every one of us hold dear in our hearts. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Megan Bridget Darling, Deputy Mayor of the Maribyrnong Council, to come up here and have a few words. Please welcome her.
Good morning, everyone. Xin chào. My name is Megan, and I have the pleasure of being the Deputy Mayor for Maribyrnong. I've been asked to stand in today for the Mayor, who is very apologetic that she couldn't be here. I want to acknowledge all the wonderful people that are here and all the hard work that goes into to running this event year after year. It is a very different year, but we're here, and it's the weather is holding out. I will acknowledge that we are on traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people, and on behalf of them, Womanjeka, Wurundjeri, Yerman, Kundi, Bik, which means welcome to the lands of the Wurundjeri people. I acknowledge that we are standing on the banks of the mighty Maribyrnong River, which you can't quite see, but is a traditional land of play, hunting, fighting and gathering for thousands and thousands of years. We are very lucky to have such a wonderful park in this area. Just lost my script. Bon Nguyen, Phong Nguyen, Viv Nguyen and my good friend Cook Lam. Thank you very much for being here. I know there are other dignitaries as well, but I haven't gotten around to meeting you all yet, so thank you. It is an honour to be here to celebrate the International Refugee Week with you and those of you at home. Today we remember those who fled Vietnam but never made it to our shores. We pay our respects to those who lost their lives in their home country, to those who were unable to make a new home in a country like Australia. We acknowledge that they face so many dangers to live in freedom, such as the risk of being captured as they fled, drowning, the pirates at sea, the hunger and sadness of leaving behind loved ones. Also this is a day where we commemorate loss, but are also thankful. Thankful that the Vietnamese experience has helped shape our community and has made us more welcoming. I am proud that our city has been a refugee welcome zone for over 10 years. We have strong partnerships with organizations like the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre to help those in difficulty when they arrive in Australia. The Vietnamese community has made our city more culturally rich, and Australia is by far a better place for having you in it. We've built the iconic welcome arch in Footscray, which is a tribute to the journey and to many Vietnamese who have come to settle here in Australia. A tribute to those who we remember on a day like today. We remember and honour them all. Cảm ơn.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And the next person I would like to invite is no stranger to our community, but today she's here not only as a former mayor of Maribyrnong, but also the current councillor in the city of Maribyrnong, but she was also a refugee herself. Her journey has been recorded in the museums, the immigration museum in the city. Today she come not only to be part of our community as a councillor, but as a refugee herself to pay tribute. So would you please welcome Councillor Cook Lam.
Thank you, Phong. What could I say? Mr. Bong Nguyen, the Federal Vietnamese Community Association in Australia and Victoria chapter, Mr. Phong Nguyen, the chairperson of the Vietnamese Museum in Australia, I say, and Mrs. Vivian, the VMC Victoria Multicultural Commission chairperson, the all religious leader who are not here today, but I'm sure that you were watching on live stream. And all organizations, the media, and everyone in Vietnamese community in Victoria. It is great honor and humble to sharing my story with you. Every year that May and June, actually that when I left Vietnam, 1978, and on the river boat, and every year for this May and June, that really I left on the 19th of May, which is the day that is significant for me is to leave the country and left everyone behind, and you know me, that's including my sister who raising me when I was younger, and my parents died when I was young. And soon later, about 6 months later, my sister sent her 2 children, young, and she think that follow me, my journey will be have successful and have a better life. But the children, my niece and nephew, will never reach into the destination, which is they drown and during the journey. That guilt and that upsetting is still with me for after 40 years, is still with me. And I can see that, I can understand that. It's how struggle the refugee, how many million and thousand people die during the journey. When you reach into the destination, you know you're here, but how many people, there's no census, then there's no population in Vietnam, how many people that during the last many years that I've spoken to, every single person that I have the relative, whether they lost their life or their family member, or a lot of them even more, even 6 or 7 people. You know, what sort of refugee struggle. And here we are, we're very lucky to be here. That is the reason why when Phong said that my journey, my story at the Immigration Museum, with a little red suitcase, that's where I come to Australia with. And that is an icon, significant. I have moved from one place to the next, and many, many times that was always with me. And at the end, I decided to donated to the museum. So let other people, the world of the Australian people, can view and can see that how people, the refugee, come here to build a new life and come here with the aim of the success, for successful there and their children. That when I wrote accounts, I was in there 2017 and 2018. My heart, my wish and dream that I wish that there's something for the Vietnamese community and also for the world to see that that's how Vietnamese contribution to Australia. That's why the Vietnamese Museum is so significant and icon for the community, not only just the Vietnamese, but to share with around the world. And people can come and see that. And Maribyrnong Council, we are so proud to have that land and have the two level of government to support federal and state government to support to build that. And I myself is a former refugee that I wish that will happen and will happen very soon. And I'm sure that the Vietnamese community, not only contribution, but the community also support as well. And they would like to see that is something that belongs to everyone because this is a significant museum. And I think before that, for the next generation, my children, my grandchildren would see that where their grandchildren, when they're coming and how they're coming here with that. I go back to my story. I went on the river boat. For those who've been in Vietnam for a holiday, you can see that the river boat is not a fishing boat. I should say the river boat is a Mekong Delta. It's very flat bottom, and my husband and I, and plus 32 other people, joined on the boat and sailing, and we don't know where we're gonna go, where we're gonna end up. Maybe we die in international no water, or maybe just get out from the country and we die. But we sacrifice, and we rather die than there's something we not. We not agree with. So therefore, we just accept that the risk of the life and leave the country at that time. So after 8 days, that we got rescued by Malaysian Navy, and then we went to the refugee camp in Pulau Tengah and stayed there until we got accepted with United Nations High Commissioner to come to Australia. And that's the hope of coming to Australia to. During at that time, we just accept any country accepting us. So we're grateful to Australian government to take us to come to the country. So therefore, you can see a lot of people want to give back now after 40 years. The reason people keep asking me, why are you working volunteers? Why do you do all that? Being in a hospital, being in John Kern Children's Hospital, fundraising. There's no money. We want to bring money back to the hospital for the mother and the children. Why are you involved in so many committees which is free? We don't have to get any cent of that. You spend your time, you spend your energy thinking how to build more and more that facility to that hospital, community health center, any organization, you name it. And I would love to involve. I did it on a voluntary basis. The reason for that, I would like to give back to the country who's very kind, Australian people, very kind to accept my family to reside in Australia. Okay, I just really like that idea, and will encourage. My time, I'm working full time, but I still involved with a council and also with a number of community that I involved with, and I would like to give back to the country that the community and is so kind to us. And I'm sure that I will, every time I talk to the student at the school and at a conference, I encourage young student that involved in a volunteer. The money really matter, but doesn't matter. You come to do a volunteer and you can love that and be learn from other people. So therefore, this is my that is my suggestion to the younger generation, just to be involved on the volunteer basis. And thank you very much again for listening my story. I know that there's a lot of struggle when you arrive in Australia as well. During many years ago, there's a lot of unpleasant. A lot of people love you, and people sympathize with you a lot, and some people dislike you as well. So I have to, resilient, motivation, and work hard. And this is our aim, and this is, I think, a lot of young generation now. They're successful, and I can see that the VCA, Vietnamese Community Association, bring a lot of young people come and not acknowledge that their heritage and their parents struggle to support them, but they want to contribute as well. And my wish again, and I hope that a Vietnamese museum in Australia built as soon as possible, and with support from the whole Vietnamese community in Australia to make that happen. And we are here, hopefully we are Maribyrnong Council, myself, and hopefully other councillors can listen and can see that, so to support that happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Cooklam, for your sharing of your story. And of course, the museum at this stage, we got the content group of people who diligently, daily and hourly contact around the world, as well in Australia, to collect all these stories of the survivors of this, because I believe it belongs to Australia. Australia needs to understand all the people who came here with their story. It become part of Australia story. So the content lead team of the museum have been working very hard, I can assure you, to collecting. And we need a house for it, and that is the museum. Without further ado, the last speaker of today, I'd like to invite Mr. Bon Nguyen, our current president of the national as well as the state Vietnamese community, to have a few words to us. Please welcome Mr. Bon Nguyen.
Can I first acknowledge the traditional owner of the land and pay my respect to both the elders past and present. Absolutely, representing the Mayor of Maribyrnong, Deputy Mayor, Councillors Megan Richard Dallins, who was here with us today, and Councillor Cook Lam is also with us here today as well. Mr. Phong Nguyen, the organizing committee, and also the chair for the VMC, as well as the chair for the VMA, which is the chair for the VNCS Center, and the chair for the VMA as well. Miss Vivian Nguyen, the chair for the VMC, thank you for being here with us today, and other community leaders as well as our medias and live streamers as well. Phong, can I just make a correction? I hope that I'm the host, I'm not the guest here. So, it is on the Refugees Week. May I have your permission to speak? There's some in Vietnamese first, and then some in English a little later. Kính thưa toàn thể quý vị, chúng ta phải biết là chúng ta đến từ đâu và chúng ta đang đứng ở chỗ nào để chúng ta có thể hướng về cái tương lai của chúng ta. Chúng ta đến ở chỗ nào? Chúng ta biết rất rõ là cái cuộc chiến trước năm 1975, rất nhiều người đã hy sinh, hàng triệu người dân miền Nam của chúng ta đã hy sinh, và hàng chục ngàn đồng minh của chúng ta cũng đã hy sinh tại chiến trường Việt Nam. Và sau đó đồng bào của chúng ta đã hy sinh, tiếp tục hy sinh trên đường vượt biên và vượt biển. Ông Nguyễn Thế Phong lúc nãy có nói là 2/3 đã đến được bến bờ tự do, có nghĩa là 1/3 chết trên đường vượt biên và vượt biển. Thì con số này dọn dẹn trên 500.000 người quý vị, nó không có dưới. Nếu mà như vậy, chúng ta ngày hôm nay hưởng được cái sự tự do đó, cái sự tự do mà chúng ta có được, nhiều người đã hy sinh để mà chúng ta có được cái sự tự do đó, kính thưa quý vị. Cho nên đó là cái ân huệ mà ân trên ban xuống cho chúng ta, cho nên chúng ta mới có được cái sự tự do đó. Thì tôi nghĩ rằng khi chúng ta có mặt ở đây, chúng ta hiểu được cái bổn phận của chúng ta là người, cái nguồn gốc tị nạn chúng ta cần làm những gì. Tôi trong tuần lễ vừa qua, tôi nhận thấy bà Nguyễn Phượng Vĩ, mặc dù là chair của VMC nhưng vẫn đi đến phát những cái món quà hay là những cái công việc để cho những người tị nạn. Tôi rất là thán phục những cái việc làm đó. Tôi rất là thán phục, mà tôi nghĩ rằng cộng đồng của chúng ta nói chung là có cái tấm lòng muốn giúp đỡ những người khác, và chúng ta còn làm cái bổn phận của chúng ta nữa. Mà chúng ta cũng nên nhớ là hiện giờ chúng ta đang, đồng bào của chúng ta ở trong nước vẫn còn bị kìm kẹp dưới chế độ cộng sản, họ vẫn còn bị suffer, kính thưa quý vị. Và ngày hôm nay chúng ta đang sống ở trong cái xã hội mà chúng ta cần phải có cái social distancing giống như vậy. Là lý do từ đâu ra? Có phải là cái hệ lụy từ cộng sản dẫn ra không quý vị? Mặc dù chúng ta đã là nạn nhân của cộng sản 40 mấy năm trước, bây giờ chúng ta sống ở xứ sở tự do, chúng ta vẫn còn bị cái hệ lụy của cộng sản dẫn đến giống như thế này. Cho nên nó nhắc nhở chúng ta phải làm bổn phận của chúng ta. Yes, chúng ta được cái quyền tự do để chúng ta hít thở được không khí tự do, chúng ta không có quên được cái bổn phận đối với lại bổn phận thứ nhất là đối với lại đất nước Úc, bổn phận thứ hai là đối với lại quê hương gấm dốc của chúng ta, mà trong đó có hàng triệu đồng bào của chúng ta đang là dưới cái quyền cai trị của nhà Cộng quyền Cộng sản Việt Nam. Cho nên tôi nghĩ rằng sau khi cái việc mà cái coronavirus này nó qua thì cộng đồng sẽ tiến hành cái vấn đề cái museum, nó rất cần thiết, kính thưa quý vị. Và quý vị còn thấy cái museum nó cần thiết là không phải để mà chúng ta biểu dương cái sự thành công của chúng ta không mà thôi, mà nó còn giữ những cái di tích đó. Nó cần thiết là tại sao những cái việc mà ông Trần Đông, ở đây tôi xin nhắc tới ông Trần Đông, cái tượng đài thiền nhân này cũng công cán của ông Trần Đông rất là nhiều. Và trước đây quý vị còn nhớ khi ông Trần Đông đi tuần tu nghĩa trang ở tại các trại tị nạn, sau đó nhà Cộng quyền Cộng sản họ cũng kiếm mọi cách để họ đập cái đó, họ bỏ. Thì tôi nghĩ rằng nếu mà cái di tích lịch sử của chúng ta không có bảo tồn, không có giữ ở một cái nơi mà nó phải được bảo đảm bảo vệ, thì tôi nghĩ rằng cái lịch sử của chúng ta là người Việt tị nạn nó sẽ sớm xóa đi, kính thưa quý vị. Và chúng ta mọi người phải phụ một tay để chúng ta bảo tồn cái di tích đó, để cho con cháu của chúng ta sau này họ phải tự hào về cái nguồn gốc của chúng ta đến từ đâu và chúng ta đang đứng từ đâu, để cho họ biết được cái tương lai của họ, họ đi về đâu, kính thưa quý vị. Thì tôi xin thưa với quý vị là tôi xin hết trong cái phần tiếng Việt và tôi xin trình bày trong cái phần tiếng Anh chút xíu. That was a few words in Vietnamese, and I wish to say a few words in English as well. So I know for those who understand both Vietnamese and English, and if both versions are not consistent, please forgive me. You know that before 1975, South Vietnamese, before 1975, Vietnam was in war, and you know, millions of South Vietnamese were sacrificed, along with hundreds or tens of thousands of our allies were sacrificed in the Vietnamese war in protecting the sovereignties and the freedoms of South Vietnam. Subsequent to that, after the War of Vietnam, and may I emphasize that during the War of Vietnam, none of the Vietnamese people left Vietnam and sought refugees elsewhere. None. They stayed back and they fought because they thought that the dangers of the communist invasion was too dangerous, so they stayed back and they fought with the country. None left. After the war, then there was millions of Vietnamese people fled Vietnam. I remember I was in the refugees camp as well. When I listened to Cook's story, I wanted to share with you my story as well, but perhaps not, maybe leave that for another occasion. I was in the refugee camp as well. One of the one of the phrase that I remember and I could never forget: thà chết trên biển Đông còn hơn sống với chế độ cộng sản. I rather die on the way to seek for freedom, on the sea and jungle, in search for freedom, rather than stay behind with the communist regime. That was the phrase that was actually said, and I could remember that quite clearly. And today, I think that many of our, 2/3, Mr. Phong said 2/3 of the Vietnamese people will successfully get to the freedom land, which means 1/3 was unsuccessful, perished at sea and in jungle. That's equivalent to approximately about 500,000 of the Vietnamese people. That's a lot. So our freedom that we got here today was actually rise from the sacrifice of millions and hundreds of thousands of fellow Vietnamese people. They sacrificed. This is how we got our freedom here today. So we should remember that. We should remember that, ladies and gentlemen. And also that today we are living in Australia. We enjoying the freedom. But the communists still surrounded us. The consequence of the communists still surrounded us. How do I say that? How do I come about by saying that? The fact that we are social distancing now, where does it come from? I'm not actually pointing finger at China, but it actually come from the Chinese communist regime. And the Chinese people suffer that as well. May I emphasize that the Chinese people suffer that as well. They are our fellow human beings. I understand that we respect the trade and all of that, but why did they conceal information? Had they shared that information with the rest of the world, hundreds of thousands of actually human beings' lives would have been safe. And the social distancing, the severity of the impact of the society today wouldn't have been where we are today. So that remind us that the consequence of actually arise from the communist regime. So that will remind us of what we need to do. When we were floating on the sea, as Miss Cook Lam was saying, we did not know where we were able to make the land. Let alone we left our home behind. We don't know whether we're going to have a home, whether we make a land. Most of us would realize that we have only 1/10 of survival. We realize that I even would discuss with my family before we left, and we understand the danger, and we said, oh, we're going to go. All right, we found our freedom, and we found our home in Australia. But guess what? The moment that we become Australians, part of that history become Australian history. Part of that history that we carry with us, become Australian history. We are now your fellow Australians. Part of that history become Australian history. So that history there, I think, deserves to be housed in a proper housing. And I am so grateful for the leadership and the decision that the Maribyrnong Council was actually taking to actually grant us the land in this city. I'm very proud. Why is that important? That was important because after that decision was made by the Maribyrnong councils, then the support from the state government, the federal government is actually pouring in. And I think that was the fundamental element that we got to remember. And I thank you, councillors, that you're here, both the mayor, under the Mayor Cook Lam, and also the deputy mayor who are here. Please convey our appreciation to the councillors. We are deeply appreciate. I have expressed I have expressed our success, securing the land and support from the state government, federal government, that considered to be a success. With my Vietnamese diaspora in the United States, in Canada, and in Europe, they were very pleased to hear that, and they wanting to support that. And I have no doubt, I am in no illusion at all, that once the museum is established in Phu Srai, it will pour a lot of Vietnamese people into visiting here. It would turn Phu Srai into a city that actually, it would turn Phu Srai into an international city. That's how I view that. Why, based on what basic am I saying that? I know that every year our Vietnamese people from United States, from Canada, and from Europe, they organize multiple trips to go back to the refugee camps and visit that. So I think if we hold that historical items and stories and memories that we treasure in our museum, I think that would be beneficial to not just the Vietnamese but to Australian, because we are now Australian, but it's also carry the sentimental message from our Vietnamese diaspora as well. So thank you very much for supporting, and I hope that the council will continue to support us, and we will continue to work together with the councillor in the future as well to make the city of Maribyrnong better and better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bon Nguyen. Now we come to the main part of today's ceremony. It will be a solemn occasion annually. And so I would like to invite 4 special guests to join with me at the altar, and you can stand behind me, and then while I will be reading out our prayers, commemorative prayers, and after that, we would invite all the participants today. You will eventually going up and receive your incense stick, and then offer it into the incense bowl. So, kính thưa toàn thể quý vị, sau đây là phần lễ chính của chúng ta. Chúng tôi sẽ mời 4 vị khách chính là bà Phó Thị trưởng, bà nghị sĩ Quốc Lâm, nghị viên Quốc Lâm, ông Bon Nguyễn và bà bé Hà đại diện cho đền thờ. 4 vị này sẽ cùng với cá nhân chúng tôi để đọc lời nguyện, và sau khi đọc lời nguyện rồi thì quý vị từng tự mỗi người sẽ nhận một cái nén nhang để quý vị lên để bày tỏ lòng tri ân đến những người đã nằm xuống cho tự do. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start our ceremony.
Maybe just bring the speaker closer.
Yeah.
Maybe just bring.
That's a good idea.
She's the deputy mayor. Know what she's doing.
Xin anh dốt được không? văn tế văn tế thuyền nhân, bộ nhân đã bỏ mình trên đường tìm tự do. Nhớ linh xưa, chiến sĩ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa yêu chuộng tự do, đồng bào miền Nam khát khao dân chủ, quốc pháp thượng tôn, gia phong tuân thủ, hằng lo toan việc nước nhiều bữa quên ăn, từng tính toán chuyện nhà lắm đêm mất ngủ. Hai thế hệ sự nghiệp đấu tranh nửa canh đổ vỡ, bom đạn mịt mù. 3 thập niên công trình xây dựng, một khắc tan tành bão giông vần vũ. Đau đớn quá, sơn hà vong phế, người yêu nước bị cảnh ngục tù đầy đọa. Xót xa thay, xả tắc điêu linh, kẻ hại dân được thời xông xáo bạo hành. Nước mất dạ đồng bào khắc khoải phục hoạt chính quyền, thành suy lòng chiến sĩ nôn nao quy hồi quân ngũ. Sống chẳng được, người tìm lối đi tránh bọn côn đồ, chết không xong, kẻ kiếm đường trốn phường đạo trú. Quản gì nguy hiểm, chỉ mong thoát vòng kiềm tỏa của bọn cáo hồ. Bất kể tử sinh, những cầu vượt tầm ngõ dòm của quân diều cứu. Lớp trai tráng ngược xuôi buôn tẩu, chồng dắt vợ, chị cõng em vào rừng lén lút cùng em bé trẻ thơ. Bậc lão thành lặn lội tị đà, cha vịnh con, cháu dìu cậu đến bãi vội vàng với ông già bà cụ. Lên đên sóng bạc ước mơ thoát hiểm, thuyền nhân nguyện cầu. Trùng điệp non xanh, hy vọng sống sót, bộ nhân ấp ủ. Sống cồn biển cả đụng phải mãng xà, hải tặc từng đoàn. Tuyết trải đồi cao gặp phải mãnh hổ, công an hàng lũ. Trẻ sợ khóc than, rung chuyển địa cầu, già lo kêu cứu, âm vang vũ trụ. Đồng nguy tị nạn đến bờ tự do tìm bạn chẳng ra, công khó bôn đào đến bến tự do kiếm người không đủ. Núi rừng thực gia người vắng số rửa nát, cuộn chặt gót tiều phu. Đại dương hài cốt kẻ bạc phần, một tan trôi theo dòng ngư phủ. Phách hồn trinh nữ thiêu dạt chân trời góc biển, không lăng miếu tương phùng. Khí tiết trường phu chập chờn ngọn cỏ đồi cây, chẳng đền đài quần tụ. Triều dân sóng vỗ, mộ siêu phách lạc thấp thoáng trùng dương. Gió cuốn lá tung, nhật nguyệt hồn bay vật vờ đại thụ. Hôm nay đây chúng tôi, cộng đồng người Việt tự do Victoria, hướng về Biển Đông, lập đàn tràng cầu cảnh phong quang. Vọng đến Cao Sơn, xây bảo tháp chiêu hồn anh tú. Phương danh ghi bia đá, hương thơm một nén chim bái nay ở xứ người. Quý tướng tượng đúc bệ đài, rượu ngọt 3 tuần tôn thờ mai về quê cũ. Mong các vong linh cùng về tề tựu, đồng lai phối hưởng. Xin mời anh Nhân ơi, anh Nhân lên đốt giùm Phong một ít cái nhang nhỏ để cho đồng bào. Đúng rồi. And for social distancing, we would like just single line, please. Those who xin các bác anh chị, chúng ta chỉ một đường thôi, và cách nhau từng người một. Chúng ta sẽ nhận nhang từ anh Nhân để chúng ta lên từng người một, và chúng ta không có nhiều người lắm, thành ra cứ từng vị một lên rồi cắt nhang, rồi sau đó đi về trở lại chỗ của mình. Dạ, xin cảm ơn quý vị. Quý vị cứ bước lên phía chiếu trước không sao cả. Dạ, xin cảm ơn. Kính thưa các bác các anh chị, và sau buổi lễ này, ban tổ chức xin được kính mời quý bác quý anh chị, bởi vì cái vấn đề đại dịch, thành ra chúng tôi không có nấu nước như bình thường, mà chỉ có những nước lạnh bằng cái bottle, và sẽ có một ít đồ ăn cho quý vị cầm tay. Và sau khi mà buổi lễ, xin quý vị chị bé có chuẩn bị sẵn trong mấy cái hộp, thì quý vị hoặc là quý vị có thể đứng chung quanh đây, hoặc là quý vị muốn tới đằng cái chỗ barbecue kia cũng được. Xin cảm ơn. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to thank you very, very much for being here with us today. And after the ceremony, we do have some bottle of waters as well as some cake that you can, they're all individually packed, so it will be pretty safe. So you can mingle around in front of our memorial here to have a further chat, or you can go to the barbecue area to sit down if you wanted. So once again, on behalf of the organizing committee, we thank you very much to the media, to the live streamers, those who have helped us to live stream to the people at home. And we appreciate Council for being here, our guests, and the Victorian Multi-Commissioner as well, Viv Nguyen, and all of you. Councillor Cúc Lâm still have a few words to you, and I'll invite her.
Thank you, Phong, again. And I said on behalf of the Maribyrnong City Council that Deputy Mayor and the whole council that I would like to thank you so much for organizing committee, VCA Australia, VCA VIX, and Vietnamese Museum in Australia, and all the people who involved, before and after and today, to celebrating or commemorating the event today. And I think I was very emotional before at the end, I would like to, to say that I acknowledge that the hard work that you're putting through that and all the way through, and I'm very proud to see that, you're working together and have a successful day, and that's it's a wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cook Lam, on behalf of the Deputy Mayors and the Councils of Maribyrnong. We appreciate very much every year. This memorial is a testimony of your commitments to freedom, democracy, and multiculturalism, and that is your testimony here, and hopefully will be even bigger with the museum coming forward. So once again, have a wonderful. Một lần nữa chúng tôi xin được đại diện cho ban tổ chức để cảm ơn tất cả đồng bào đã theo dõi trên phần livestream ngày hôm nay. Chúng tôi biết là mọi người chúng ta đều thắp nén nhang lòng và hướng lòng đến những người đã nằm xuống cho chúng ta có được tự do ngày hôm nay. Chúng tôi cũng cảm ơn Hội đồng thành phố Maribyrnong đã dành cho chúng ta có một nơi để có một tượng đài như thế này. Đây là một cái dấu chứng mà đã về cái sự tôn trọng của thành phố Maribyrnong đối với tri ân đến những người đã tìm kiếm tự do, dân chủ và những người đã đóng góp cho xã hội đa văn hóa của nước Úc. Và đương nhiên khi chúng ta xây dựng được viện bảo tàng, nó sẽ còn là một cái dấu chứng lớn hơn nữa, không những cho thành phố này mà cho toàn nước Úc và trên toàn thế giới về cái lịch sử của người Việt tị nạn, để những vong linh của những người đã nằm xuống sẽ không bao giờ bị lãng quên bởi chúng ta và các thế hệ mai sau qua viện bảo tàng. Một lần nữa chúng tôi xin kính chúc quý vị một ngày cuối tuần an lành, và hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong những cái chương trình tới của cộng đồng của chúng ta qua hình thức livestream, và hy vọng là chúng ta sẽ gặp đối mặt trong tương lai khi nạn đại dịch này chấm dứt. Xin một lần nữa cảm ơn toàn thể quý vị.